I've been asked by one of my Subscribestar supporters to review the 2009 film Mr. Nobody. This is a sci-fi drama written and directed by Jaco van Dormael and stars Jared Leto. In the year 2092, human beings have figured out a way to live forever. Death has been defeated. Only one mortal man remains. An extremely old person named Nemo Nobody, played by Leto. A man who seems to be able to recall living and dying multiple times in several different ways. He's assisted by a doctor with some facial tattoo art to remember his life or lives, and he then proceeds to tell his story or stories to a journalist. The film is told in a non-linear fashion, very much so, with the narrative bouncing back and forth through time at different stages of Nemo's life, from childhood to his teenage years to his adulthood. And in an early scene in the film, he awakens sometime in the present as a relatively young man. He's married with children. He prepares to take them to school when the mailman, who is walking backwards for some reason, leaves a photo in the letterbox of Nemo with another family, a different wife and children. He's married to an Asian lady with Asian kids. What's going on? He even gets his children's names wrong. He then comes to beside a swimming pool and is disoriented to find himself with his Asian family. We witness these moments from different stages in his life, but there's so many contradictions going on all at once. Different parallel lives, different families, different outcomes. It's very trippy and surreal in places. Dreams, muddled memories, memories of his early childhood told from the perspective of a child, fragments of his past life, fragments of moments from before he was born. The first 20 minutes of the film require the viewer to really stay engaged, given the just total randomness of the visuals and events taking place. The film finally kind of gets going when the journalist comes to interview him about his life. This does help to focus Nemo a little bit by keeping him on track, but the inconsistencies and contradictions remain. The journalist wants him to explain what life was like when humans were mortal. One of the themes of the film is the consequence of our choices. Because we can't go back in time, we have to make the right choices because there's no way to undo mistakes. So long as we don't choose, everything remains possible. Well, actually, I would argue foundationally with this logic, because not choosing between two choices is actually a choice in itself. We see a montage of Nemo marrying 3 different women all at the same time in his life, so it's 3 different universes essentially. Young Nemo thinks that because the Angels of Oblivion didn't put their finger on him before he was born, yeah, really weird, he can recall future events. Later, he has to choose which parent he decides to live with after they get divorced, but it's unclear which one of them he ended up with. The symbolism of diverging train tracks is used multiple times in the film, suggesting the alternate paths that Nemo's life could have taken. We also see the events of his sci-fi novel unraveling, which is kind of interesting. And then we see him drown in a car accident. We see so many disconnected, unrelated moments in his life unraveling across time. It's very abstract and visually memorable, for sure, but nothing about the story leads us anywhere. It doesn't go anywhere. There's no sense of urgency in the plot. It's literally just random stuff on screen. I mean, the film is largely a jumble of random moments across multiple alternate lives of Nemo. That's basically it. Great visuals, beautiful painterly direction for sure, with a great performance from Jared Leto. But that's all the positives I can throw at this movie. It tries to give the impression that there's a deeper meaning or some profound philosophical message about the choices we make and so forth. They throw in voiceover narrations about the creation of the universe, human biology, evolution, the butterfly effect, space and time. And it's designed to give the impression to the viewer that there's a primary thread that ties the story together, some highly intellectual understanding you need to reach in order to be able to decipher and comprehend it all. But in truth, there isn't. There's nothing really going on there. You know, thought-provoking narrations aside, there's nothing thought-provoking in the movie. And the ending only further serves to underline the fact that the film is completely and utterly pointless and empty, with an ambiguous ending that leaves you wondering if any of the random memories old Nemo had were real or just made up. It's about as cliched and irritating an ending as, "It was all just a dream." Complex puzzle box movies that tell events out of order or that make use of time and space-bending narrative structures like Inception, Arrival, Memento, Mulholland Drive, Donnie Darko, and Primer all appear very confusing and disjointed upon first glance. But analysing them closer shows that they actually do have a coherence, logic, and structure behind them. They may be told in a non-linear manner, but they do make sense. They're just unconventional, but they were ingeniously constructed and can be understood once you figure them out. They are, after all, a puzzle. What's satisfying about those movies is that they challenge the viewer to think, to use their brain in order to figure them out. And when you finally do solve the puzzle, you feel rewarded for giving the film your time and attention. Mr. Nobody does not offer this kind of payoff because there is no sense or meaning behind it. In that respect, it's extremely postmodern. Mr. Nobody may mean something to you, dear viewer. It may have a logic and reason to it from your perspective. But in truth, that's because you've decided to imbue this movie with a meaning. In this respect, it's much like abstract art. Whatever you see on the canvas, whatever you think is there, that's what it is, apparently. I don't like that, because there's no intent or intelligence behind it, nothing clever about it. It's just a trick. And that's what Mr. Nobody is. If you watch this for 30, 40, 50 minutes, you're going to be led to believe, you're going to be strung along throughout the movie, believing it's going somewhere, believing that what you're seeing, what you're watching and listening to has some sort of meaning and some sort of payoff later on, that there's more going on here than you realize. But in truth, there simply isn't. This film is not truly saying anything profound or philosophical. There's a word we use to describe something that tries to appear to have depth, but doesn't really. Pretentious. And that is exactly what Mr. Nobody is. I think this is a very overrated artsy movie that is very much left open to your interpretation. And if that works for you, that's absolutely fine. I think you'll like this film if you like things like dream interpretations and ambiguous stories where meaning is left unclear, if you like something very abstract. But I'm sorry, I can't get on board with all of that. I do appreciate unconventional narrative structures in movies, and I like when filmmakers try to do something a bit different, but there's got to be an actual interesting story going on that makes logical sense. Now cue the comments telling me that I've completely missed the point. Thanks very much for watching, guys. Take care. I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.